Tirth Maharaj writes in his books that, Krishna never tests beyond our limits. He repeats so often in that. So we also see that when you pass, then you realize. But suppose even you fall down, then is it that the limit was, for us, we didn't surrender? Or sometimes even when there is a fall down, we say even that is a mercy of Krishna to show. How do we understand?
Everything is the mercy of Krishna. If a child misbehaves and the parent punishes them, that's the mercy of the parent. But it doesn't mean that the child's supposed to misbehave. Do you understand? It's the child's foolishness that he misbehaves, but it's the parent's mercy to teach him a lesson by punishing him. So therefore the child doesn't blame the parent for being punished. It's the mercy of the parent, which is in direct reciprocation for the nonsense of the child. In that way it's Krishna's mercy, but it's our fault. So if a devotee falls, yes, it is because of previous conditioning, or because of a lack of giving everything we have to take shelter of Lord Krishna and resist. Sometimes we have to learn the lessons the hard way. But if we are sincere, Krishna says in Gita, Api chet sutaracharo bhajate mamananyava, that He will deliver us if we are sincere, even if we fall for some time. He will pick us up back again and give us another chance, and another chance, and another chance. But if we are insincere, we are offensive to Vaishnavas, then Krishna just kicks us down for a long time until we really learn our lesson. You see, Krishna never tests us beyond what we can pass. But don't think that if you pass one test, then you've graduated. Because with each grade that you advance to, the tests get harder. It's a fact. When you're in school, the point of graduation, then you're free. But until graduation, every time you pass one test, what are you doing? You're putting yourself in a predicament where there's going to be an even more difficult test. And that's known beforehand, isn't there? Aren't the tests in 8th standard more difficult than the tests in 7th standard? And in 9th standard, aren't they more difficult than 8th standard? So when a child passes the test of 8th standard, what's he doing? He's just putting himself in a situation where now I have to pass even a more difficult test, 9th standard. So every time you pass a test by taking shelter of Krishna, you reach a slightly higher level in Krishna consciousness, which means to graduate to the higher stage, you're going to have to pass a more difficult test. And if you want to go higher, you have to pass another more difficult test. And if you want to go higher, you have to pass an even more difficult test. And if you want to go higher, you have to pass a more difficult test. And if you don't want to, then you're going to fall all the way down to the bottom again. You're going to flunk. You're going to go back grades. You either have to pass or you fail. You don't get anywhere. Unless you're passing the test, you don't get anywhere. So we shouldn't expect, oh, I did it. We should think, oh, I did it. Now I should be prepared for something even more difficult. And it will come, inevitably, by God's grace, until you graduate. And then when you graduate, somebody like Prabhupada, he graduated. He was a professor. But the professor has to go through all the lessons for the sake of the students. It's like Srila Prabhupada used to explain that the teacher is writing on the blackboard, 2 + 2 equals 4. The teacher's going through all the fundamental basics of arithmetic, not because she needs to know, but because she needs to teach you by her example. She has to do the lessons to show you how to do the lessons. So after you graduate, if Krishna wants you to bring others, then you'll have to go through tests, PhD exams, and then postgraduate exams. But as we make advancement, the tests become more difficult, but they become more and more sweet and delightful. Why? Because with each test, we have to submerge our consciousness more intensely at the lotus feet of Krishna. And therefore, the more Krishna tests us, the sweeter our life becomes. The more nectar we find in His holy name. Hare Krishna.
You were listening to Radhanath Swami on thesacredconnect.com.